Hey there, the perfect tutor Mr. Gilbert CJ. So in this one, we are going to look at comparison. In this video, we are going to look at comparison. It's a very simple topic. It's even taught in grade 9. So we just want to go through it. We won't even take long because it's a very simple topic. Okay, so comparison, we are saying structures or expression of comparison are used to show the difference or similarity between or among people or things. Look at this interesting thing here. The structures, we simply mean the weights, the structures, weights, or the expressions of this topic, comparison, are used. How are they used? To show difference or similarity between or among people or things. We are using between when we are talking about two things, and among when we are talking about more than two things, starting from 3 going upwards there. So when you want to show the difference or the similarity between or among those things, then you use the structures of comparisons. So we have comparatives and superlatives. What do we mean here? The comparative forms are used for comparing two things. Simple. So you use the comparative when you are comparing two things or two people. While the superlative here, the superlative forms are used for comparing more than two things or people. So two, just two, you use the comparative. Then 3 going upwards, you use the superlative. The comparatives and superlatives of single syllable adjectives and adverbs are formed by adding er and est. Let me make this clear. When you are using the superlative forms of words, you simply add er to the word. That means you are comparing. Let me give you an example here. We are comparing Mwanza here and Musonda. Who is taller? Musonda is taller. So just hear the way I'm pronouncing it. Taller. So what is there at the end is er. So when you are comparing two things, this is called comparative, and you simply add er to the word. The word here is tall. When I want to say one is taller than the other, I'll simply add the er there. When you are using the superlative, you simply add est. For example, we have, let me include another one here, this one. Who is shorter? It's this one. Let me say it's Mwamba. So this one is the shortest because he is shorter than this one and this one. So he's the shortest. Here the way I'm pronouncing it. Shortest. What is there at the end of the word short? There is est, making it to be what? Shortest. So when you are comparing more than two things, you simply add est, and that is the superlative form of words. Done. We go to single syllable adjectives and adverbs. In the previous video, we talked about adjectives. We said these are words which talks more about a noun. Then adverbs modifies a verb. We talked about that. So let us look at some of the words and see how they are changed on comparatives and superlatives. We have the positive word here, tall. When we have two people, this one and this one, we use the word taller to show that one is more tall than the other. So we use the word taller. What have we done? We have added er er to the word tall here. Here we only had tall. Then we have added er to make it taller, to show that there are two people here, then one is taller than the other. We go to superlative or superlative, depending on how we can pronounce it, as long as we read the spellings. So the superlative here is tallest. That means we are comparing 3 or more. 3 or more. So when someone is tall or is more tall than all the people there, all the people who are present there, then you use the word tallest. You simply add what? est. That is superlative. Slow, slower, slowest. Near, nearer, nearest. What are we doing? Here we are adding er. There we are adding est. Simple. Close, closer, closest. Fast, faster, fastest. Big, bigger, biggest. But as for big, when you add er, it changes the spelling. It adds another G. Bigger, biggest. So pause the video. I want you to pause the video and make 5 words. Change them to comparative and superlative. Do that. Then you can resume. We go to spelling rules. We are saying if a word ends with the letter Y, we have some words which end with the letter Y. The Y is changed to I before you add the ER or the EST. The EST. So when you've got the word ending in Y, then you must change that Y to I before you add the ER or the EST. What are we talking about? Let us look at these practical examples here. Pretty, we have pretty. Pretty is ending with what? Y. What are the rules saying? You change the I or the Y to I before you add the ER or the EST. So under comparative, we are simply going to add the ER. But the rules say you should first of all change the Y to I. So that's why I've changed the Y, it has become I here. I. Then we have added the what? The ER. Prettier. She is prettier than that one. Then, even under superlative, you add EST. You add EST. So it's prettiest. So you don't add ER to a word with Y at the end. You just say prettier. Prettier. What kind of English is that? So you change the Y to I before you add the ER or the EST. Naughty, naughtier, naughtiest. Silly, sillier, silliest. Dry, drier, driest. Driest. So you can see that all these words were ending with Y. So before adding the ER or the EST here, we were changing the I to Y, and then we add the comparative or the superlative form. Pause the video again. Make 4 words. Here I just wanted to make 4 words which ends with Y. Change the Y to I and add ER under comparative and add EST under superlative. Good. We have comparatives and superlatives of 2 or more syllables. The comparative and superlatives of words which have 2 or more syllables other than those mentioned earlier are formed by putting more and most before the positive form. We have these words here. Interesting. So can you say interesting? Interesting. Interestingest. So here with these words which has more than 1 syllable, we add more or most. So under comparative, we'll say more interesting than that one. More interesting. Superlative, most interesting. Most interesting. We cannot say interesting, we just add er, interesting. Okay, beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful. Careful, be more careful, be the most careful. So is careful, more careful, most careful. Those words with what? More than one syllables are the ones which are added with what? The more or the most. Only. Not the previous ones again. So there are rules which you need to follow in English. Again, pause the video. Make 3 words. 3 words with more than one syllable. And then add the more and the most and the superlative. We come to irregular form of verbs. We have some verbs which do not agree all those rules we have talked about of adding the er or the est or adding the more or the most. These they do not agree. What do? We call them irregular. Okay, the person who created English was very clever. So I don't know if it's she or he came up with something interesting here. Good, well, good or well. So we don't say gooder, no, we don't say gooder. Good changes to better. Then under superlative it changes to best. So when we've got 2 students or 2 pupils here, then this one performs more than this one in terms of academic performance. Then we'll say, okay, this one is better than this one. This one is better than this one. Now, if we are comparing one person to the class, let's say these are pupils, then this one surpasses all these. Then we'll say this one is the best. Good. But we don't say bad. But when it gets away from bad, it goes to worse. It's worse now. Worse, worst. Bad, worse, worst. Much or many. Before I go to that, let's talk about little. Little goes to less. It's less than a quarter, it's less than a half, it's less than 1. You see? After the less, under superlative we add st, we say least. Ast, so we add ast. So here we don't have specific rules to follow to say you need to add er or est. No. The regular form of verbs simply changes their spelling, their pronunciation, everything. They change. So you just need to know them as just like that. Much, more, most. It's the same as many. You can say more than that. Most. Again, pause the video, please. Make or come up with 2 irregular form of verbs which do not agree to those rules we have talked about. Then know or write how they change under comparative and under superlative. This is about comparative comparison. It's very simple. We are only trying to compare things or people. So when we are comparing 2 things, we use comparative. When we are comparing more than 2, that is 3 going upwards, we're using superlative.